and welcome to Unique Peace, the show all about peace. I am your host, Janice. I am a Reiki Master Teacher and Intuitive here on Long Island. Today, I'm going to be joined by the beautiful Safire Rose. She is an interspiritual minister. She'll explain what that is, a writer, and a poet. And she's going to discuss all of that and what brings her peace. So join me in welcoming Safire Rose. Good morning.
Morning, Janice.
How are you today?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Good. So you're in that what caught me. I'm a poet and writer as well, but what I'm interested in, what is an interspiritual minister? That
Yeah,
was
an
new.
interspiritual minister is someone who draws on all different paths, recognizing the connection between all the major spiritual paths, but it focuses on the mystical path. And so instead of interfaith, it's interspiritual because it's more focused on the mystical path of a spiritual aspirant.
And what led you to that? How did you?
Oh,
Well, we all have that twisty turn story. So what led you there?
yeah, I have one of those twisty turn stories. So when I was 24, I fell into a deep depression from a breakup. And at 27, I was still working through those issues with a therapist. And at 27, I was sort of like in a bit of a desperate state of mind of just not wanting to experience the grief and the anger, all the things I was feeling. And I just spoke to the universe. And I wouldn't say at that time that I really had a spiritual connection to life so much, but I just spoke to the universe. I want to experience joy. And within a few days, sort of from my perspective, kind of a miracle happened where I was thrown into an altered state, a multidimensional state. And during that time, I had sort of regressed to a certain age because of dealing with childhood trauma. And my therapist suggested sort of a unique way of healing, of having people come be with me and bring me back to the present moment, keep bringing me back, keep bringing me back. So I was in the women's community at that time. And so about 35 women came and supported me for 24/7 for 10 days. And what came out of that was pretty amazing for me. I began to, first of all, heal myself, right? Began to experience a sense of wholeness. And as these women came to be present with me, I was present with them because I had sort of an intuitive experience at that time where I knew things about them. So I would share with them and they would be with me. And so it was a healing experience. And also what came out of that was the joy that I had never known. And then it was a spiritual experience. I began to feel a presence that I hadn't known before. So my orientation to life was spiritual at that point.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And I'm sure at that point is when you pivoted and you got on that spiritual path and you experienced this beautiful experience, it led you to become a minister.
Yeah, I heard the word just one day. I was walking in nature and I heard the word minister. That spirit just speaks to me in one word phrases, apparently. So
Okay. Sometimes you get traits,
yeah.
so words are nice.
Yeah. So I just heard the word minister and then I explored that and then I kind of went that path.
And you have been on that path for many years, but now you are also a writer and a poet, and you have a recent collection out. So let's talk about that.
Great. So the writing that I do is inspired writing. And it does, because my orientation is spiritual, that by spiritual, I mean inner connection to something instead of like just an external connection. So my book is called Awakening, Poems of Light on the Path of Love. And it's about the experience of awakening, which is dynamic, right? We don't just pop into a greater awareness and then we're just, we continue to grow. So the idea is we're awakening and then we continue to awaken and grow. And so my book is 29 poems that are inspirational, and I'm very excited that it's out right now.
And as you were called to write those poems, and I write poetry in a very similar fashion, did you find not only that you knew they were going to help others, because when it's inspired like that, you know that it's not just helping you, it's helping others. So
Yes.
what was it that, it's like, yes, this must be published. Yes, I have to share this with the world. And what has been the reception?
Yeah, so I had sort of an unusual experience happen. I wrote a poem called She Let Go. And that poem came quickly. And I shared it with a few women at the time. And then later I published it in a small publication. And apparently it went worldwide, unbeknownst to me. And so at the time I wrote it, though, kind of like what you said, I just really enjoyed the process of writing it and let it come through. And then it sort of caught on and went all over the world. It's really been a healing poem for people. I say to people, it has a life of its own because it does. And it does really show the power of the inspirational word, that how it can touch many lives based on your own work and your own experience.
And that is beautiful. And I love that it took off unbeknownst to you.
Yeah, someone had to tell me. It was like, Safire, your poem is out there and it's popular. I just had no idea. So
You're like, really?
it was really funny at the time. Humbling too, because I didn't have anything to do with it really to a certain degree, right? Yeah.
Right. The universe kind of helped that one. And then
Yes.
it led to the book. It led to the collection.
Yes. And so I continue to, that was just one poem of many that I wrote. And the collection they're all inspired poems. So yeah, I'm hoping that they will travel far and wide as well.
I'm sure that they will. And writing in any form, inspired, automatic, or what have you, can be very therapeutic, but also very peaceful. So let's start off with, how do you define peace for yourself? What is your personal definition of peace?
Mm-hmm. For me, peace is an experience of a presence that is calming, and it's something within myself, and I can tap into it, sort of like touch it, tap into it, relax into it. And what I love about peace is it's alive. There's a dynamic connection with peace. It's not so much, many people talk about peace here, peace there, but it's really, for me, it's more of an internal experience. We can harmonize with something outside of ourselves, but really peace is something we generate and touch within ourselves.
Yeah, very true. And based on that definition, how do you personally find peace in your life or bring it into your life?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned for a moment there, I do commune with nature. I spend time with nature. I love being with trees. And there's just something in nature that allows you to relax. And it is sort of a mystical experience because you're with something sort of larger than yourself. And so that's one way. Also, I meditate every day and just commune with that presence inside of myself. And I also just spend time with myself, so I get to know myself, because it's important to know what's running me. What are the thoughts, the emotions, the stories that run me, so that I can make different choices if I want to.
And how difficult is that? Because that's, for me, I am with you 100%, but that's not easy.
No, it's not. And it's a life's work, right? Really. And I think if we can notice the moments when we're disturbed, I think it really requires like an awareness, a self-awareness, right? If you can really notice, like you're in a situation and you notice you're feeling disturbed, you can do something about it, right? You can either say something to yourself that's different than what you might be, like a negative thought that might be going through your mind. If you're feeling like emotionally disturbed, you can remove yourself from the situation and calm yourself down. There's a lot of things that we can do, but I think the most important thing is to know that you have a choice and you're not a victim to your thoughts or your feelings.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And do you find that writing is a nice way to bring out some of that? Do you find that you're drawn to writing after you meditate, or after you spent time in nature, or even when you're in nature?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, there's certain environments that I think that make it more conducive, but I think the practice of writing, you really have to allow yourself to write, regardless of whether you're feeling like writing, right? And then the practice itself sort of takes you into maybe a multidimensional space, or sometimes I just hear a word, like I said, I get one word, or sometimes a sentence, like I heard she let go. And then I just begin to write that, what the rhythm, the feeling tone of it, I could go with that. And so writing is an expression of maybe some revelation that I'm having. I can express it through my writing.
That is beautiful. I just want to acknowledge Michael Zinn, who says good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Thank you for joining us, Michael. And he's my other half.
Oh, lovely.
So as you find peace and bring peace into your life, how do you help others bring peace into their lives?
That's a really good question. I think part of it is, as you know, if you're a practitioner, if you're a spiritual practitioner, someone who practices going inside for just a sense of awareness, a sense of revelation, then you're raising your vibration when you do that into a consciousness of peace, consciousness of love. And so one way I think that I bring peace to others is just by my vibration, my presence in a situation. Maybe I bring a sense of light. I may say something or I may not, but my presence for sure. And another way I think it's important is just to remember to smile and enjoy life, And I'm pretty introverted, so I have to kind of remind myself that, to bring that smile and that joy to my life, to my face, to make it aware, so that people are aware of what I'm feeling inside and not just be consumed about what's going on inside of myself, but bring it more outward with a smile or a presence or just a nice thing to say to someone, a pleasant conversation. Present and pleasant conversation.
Exactly. Michael's acknowledging that he loves the peace consciousness connection.
Yes. And anytime we can, I think one way we can give ourselves to others, the consciousness that we carry, right, is to be as much in the present moment as possible. And that brings you into that person's consciousness, and it gives them the opportunity to be with you as well. So there really is a soul connection.
Yes. And I want to welcome Terry Radoshvish. I'm not sure if I said that correctly, but welcome, Terry. So as a minister, as an interspiritual minister, and you just had this conversation about how you bring peace to others. As a minister, how are you bringing peace to others? How does that come together?
Yeah, I think the publication of my book and the sharing of my poetry is a ministry that inspires people on a very individual level. And then hopefully in a more global level as more people become aware of my publication. But also I do speaking, like with you or with different communities to share my awareness and also to glean the awareness of other people, what their experience is. It's a sharing, right? So that we can learn from each other and grow. So it's really a conscious, I think of ministry as sort of a consciousness that I carry that is sort of an uplifting consciousness, so that when you're in my presence, hopefully you feel uplifted. And also I do it more directly by talking to people in community and on podcasts, things like that. Beautiful. And serving is an important part of this. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And so can you give any concrete examples of a time where you were personally not feeling peace and then had to bring peace to a situation? So it's kind of like you have the internal factor and the external factor coming together.
Well, I'm in a beautiful relationship of 40 years.
Congratulations.
So I have many opportunities to bring peace in the moment. And so when I find myself, in a negative state of mind or an angry state of mind, or maybe just upset, right? I can shift that by, one way to do it is to really, one way to do it is called writing and burning. You can write out,
Yes.
you're upset, just do it that way. And I think it's important. So every day I have the experience of interacting with someone where I may have a misperception of something that they're doing. And so I might internally inside myself, forgive myself for judging them, having a misperception about them, or a misperception about myself. So it's something you can do right in that moment, right? When you notice, oh, they're getting upset by something I said, or I'm getting upset by something they said, you can really just go inside of yourself and say, I forgive myself for judging myself as, and do that as a series of sentences so that you can come back to yourself in an aware way. Did that answer your question, Janice?
It did. And then at the end, my understanding is at the end, you rip it up, you put it in the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't continue, and you don't go back to it. You can't dwell on it.
It's a clearing. It's a process of clearing. Yeah. Or if you don't have a piece of paper, you can do it, inside of yourself. I forgive myself for judging myself as a victim, or I forgive myself for judging myself as, unlikable, or whatever it is that's going through your mind, Yeah.
And do you find as a writer that when you write and you're bringing peace to yourself, but because now you're published and you've gone viral, and this is wonderful, I love that story, but you are spreading peace kind of like through the airwaves. So how do you hope that reaches people and brings peace to people?
Yeah, I think, as I continue to grow incrementally and I become a greater vehicle for my own growth and connection to spirit, or whatever word you want to use, higher self, just that work in itself does vibrate to others. As I raise my frequency, I do believe that it assists on a global level, raising the frequency of others. And I think the same thing with my work, the energetic of my transformational experience in my 20s, where I actually did let go of one way of being and entered into another way of being. I think that energetic is actually in my poetry, in my book. So it is it's not just a poem, and you might feel some sense of peace by just reading it, but also I feel like it energetically moves you into a greater expansion. So that's how I feel it also is transformational. That's one thing we do, and we have the capacity to do, is to transform our thoughts, our behaviors, our emotions. And I feel that this book, in a way, helps you to transform, transcend, move forward.
And what are some of your favorite things that have come from this whole process, starting in your 20s to where you are now? And like, you're going through this process, and along the way, you find more and more about yourself, you find more and more about peace, and you find more and more about how you're helping others. So what are some of your favorite milestones?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just that connection with people, when they can see that you've been through things and you've come out to the other side of it, that's very inspiring. That always inspires me about other people too, right? Because we all go through things, and to know that there is something within us that we can turn to and really allow ourselves to heal. I think that's really important. And when I hear other people's stories about how my poem has assisted them in their lives, beyond what I could ever imagine. I'm just hearing a sentence, right? So I write the sentence down, and then this poem comes out, never imagining how many lives it might touch. That, just knowing that people really benefited from at least one poem I wrote, is very uplifting and inspiring to me. So I think that would be one thing that comes out. But also sometimes I think, the spiritual path has its twists and turns, right? And sometimes we can feel disheartened when things don't go our way. But really, the spiritual path is an adventure. And I think it's important to remember that. And it inspires me when I remember that.
Yes. And there's a misconception that it's like easy once you enter it. I think it's actually more of that test. It's like that dissertation you have to defend.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, that's just a side note because
Yeah.
There's a lot of adventure, but there are times where it seems a lot harder than people let on.
Yeah, I think, and once you're on that path, once you're aware in that sense, you really can't go back, right?
No, you can't.
Because you can't say I'm not aware anymore. It's difficult to do that. So once you're aware, then really the place to go is to greater awareness, right? Greater expansion, and that is just like like a chicken coming out of an egg, right? It might not be comfortable, or a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. We don't really know what's going on in that, what they're experiencing in that transformational experience. But I imagine it's probably not comfortable. And then all we see are the beautiful wings or the beautiful chick, right? And so it's to keep on keeping on, really.
Yes. And in addition to your book, and how have you seen yourself bring peace to others, like through your ministry, through your book? How have you seen that come about, and how has that kind of helped not reinforce, but keep you on your path even more? It's like you see all these changes and how much peace you have brought to people's life, and through counseling, through ministry, through writing. That's taking it to another level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's really about, this is sort of a humbling thing, right? To know that you're sort of a conduit for something that's greater than yourself. And so I think it's to stay inspired myself so that I can be inspiration for others is important. So to continue to do those things that inspire me, being in nature, meditating, writing, all those things that strengthen my heart will hopefully continue to be an inspiration for others.
That is beautiful. And I always like to ask, what's in your toolbox?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have somebody who in your life, your partner, somebody you're counseling or what have you, you notice they're really stressed, and you're watching the chaos go on in their brain. You can like feel it. You can like, what, we need to take a moment. How do you get them quickly to that peaceful point?
Mm-hmm. I think it depends on the situation and the person, of course. As you know, you're a healer, do healing work. I think sometimes it is just holding space for someone. That it doesn't seem like a tool. It seems like something you're not doing, but actually being present with someone and listening to them and allowing them to express themselves is one tool that I use. Also, just coming back to the breath. I like Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Vietnamese monk who passed away a few years ago. He has what he called gathas, Gathas. Mm-hmm. And you can say, like, breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment. I know it is a wonderful moment, and so it becomes calm, smile, present moment, wonderful moments. You can do it on the in-breath and the out-breath. So those are helpful to shift anything where you can bring someone to an awareness of their own internal strength, right? And if you bring someone back to their breath, that's a way for them to come back to what is maybe more innerly real than the outer disturbance that's happening in their lives, to bring them back to what is really real, right? What really matters, right? The peace, the love, the joy, the happiness that are inside of us are, superlative to any really disturbance that's going on there, because that's transitory, and the qualities inside yourself are eternal, always there.
Yes, totally agree. 100%. 100%. And just a fun question.
Oh,
What, yeah. What is your favorite thing about being a poet?
oh. Well, I've written poetry all my life. I used to get up in the middle of the night when I was like in high school and write poems. So it's fun for me. And to rhyme things. Sometimes I'll just do silly rhymes, little ditties, sing little ditties that are rhymes, because it comes sort of naturally to me, the sort of lyrical, rhymey kind of thing, or even rhythmically. So it's fun for me. So to allow that to come through and not shut it out or judge it or think it's childish, but to really appreciate the joyful child inside of myself. That's fun for me, to do things that accentuate that sort of joyful experience of life.
I was going to ask about joy. I was like, what brings you joy?
There we go. I really love flowers. So anytime I can spend time with flowers, either just looking at them, or I like to photograph flowers, because and more like with a camera, because then you can just be with the flower, because they have such a beautiful essence and so many different colors and vibrations. It's such a great experience. And also, it's hard to be upset when you're with a flower, right? Just, just not going to happen.
No, it's really, unless you're bees, unless you're around the bees, then it's kind of, I have to take a step away, because if they sting me, I don't go into anaphylactic shock, but I do swell up pretty good. So that's always fun. I let the bees do their job, because we need them. But if you can get that beautiful shot of the bee on the flower, that's always a nice one. Life with life.
Yeah. And going to the ocean is anything you can do in nature, the ocean, where you feel the aliveness of life around you, reminds you of your own aliveness. I think that's really important.
So, yes. And that's how a lot of people find being in nature, being peaceful. So that goes hand in hand.
Yes. So. It's a peace, it's spoken as the peace that surpasses human understanding, the peace not of this world. It's important to remember that it's not an intellectual accomplishment. It's an experience that you can accentuate in nature.
Absolutely.
You can choose that for yourself.
Right. I mean, when nature is calm and peaceful, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Absolutely beautiful.
It can speak to you. If you spend time with it, it'll speak to you, and you can have conversations in that space, which will help you it'll remind you what's important, And Frank talked about the beauty of nature and how healing it was for her. And she really felt that if people spent more time in nature, that it would relieve a lot of problems in the world. Spent more time in beauty, the beauty of life.
Yep. Absolutely. And as we draw to a close, I would love to hear where we can find your book.
Sure. You can find it on Amazon. It's called Awakening. See if we can see it here. And also you can go to my website, safire-rose.com. And I'm also on Instagram, sapphire.rose. So those are the best places to find me. And if you want to communicate with me, that would be awesome. Go to my website and sign up for my newsletter if you'd like to.
And we actually have a couple of links. The link for your Instagram and the link to your website are part of they are listed in the description for this show. So Anybody out there, you can go directly to those links. You can visit her website. You can follow her on Instagram. Highly recommend that. Thank you.
And I'm also on Facebook at Safire Rose Poet, so they can find me that way too. So
Beautiful, beautiful. I would like to thank you so much, Safire, for being on the show today.
thank you, and thank you for bringing this important podcast to people's lives, because peace is unique, and you make it special. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to put Safire in the green room. I'll be right back. I want to thank everybody who joined us today and in the replay for leaving comments and questions. If you have any questions for Safire, please leave them in the comments and we'll get them to her as quickly as possible and she can respond to you. I highly recommend, even if you don't like poetry, to read this particular set of poetry, this particular collection, Awakening. It is inspiring and allows everyone to find peace in the moment and some comfort. So I highly recommend that. And I want to thank everybody again, and I will see you next week.